Oh, Darling was a great one of Paul's that she didn't sing too well.
Yeah.
I always thought I could have done it better. It was more my style than his, but he wrote it, so what the hell, he's going to sing it. But if he'd had any sense, he should have let me sing it.
John and Paul's passion for rock and roll, the genre that first inspired them, remained strong. This influence, of course, appeared in many of their later songs, reflecting the straightforward styles of Chuck Berry, Elvis Presley, and Buddy Holly. They frequently returned to these musical roots, even if only briefly. In early '69, Paul fully embraced nostalgia with Oh Darling. The title itself echoed the 50s, complete with an added exclamation point for emphasis. Paul began writing Oh Darling as early as December 1968, shortly after the release of the White Album. He ran through the song on piano on January 3, 1969, the second day of rehearsals for the Get Back sessions. It's believed that Oh Darling was inspired by Little Richard's Send Me Some Lovin', which the Beatles played on January 6th. By January 27th, now at Apple Studios, the Beatles were working on the song's arrangement, a take of which was later included on Anthology 3. Paul had the chord structure and melody ready, but since the lyrics needed refining and arrangement wasn't finalized, the song was left out of the Get Back project. When they recorded it properly at EMI Studios on April 20th, Oh Darling, I'll Never Do You No Wrong, as it was then known, had all the lyrics in place. Other inspirations behind Oh Darling, beyond its obvious 50s-style pastiche, include the Mothers of Invention's Cruisin' with Reuben and the Jets, released in December of '68. Frank Zappa's band had played 50s-style doo-wop songs as a tribute to that era. Both John and Paul were actually fans of Frank Zappa, whose earlier album, We're Only in It for the Money, satirized both Sgt. Pepper and the broader hippie and psychedelic movement. Barry Miles, in Paul's biography many years from now, describes the song as reminiscent of Jackie Wilson. It also draws inspiration from the New Orleans R&B sounds of Fats Domino, as well as the Louisiana swamp blues or swamp pop sounds of Slim Harpo's Rain in My Heart. Paul initially wanted to include a spoken word section in Oh Darling, similar to the Diamonds hit Little Darlin'. The handwritten lyric sheet mentions a talking verse, a feature Paul later abandoned during final recording. Paul's primary concern in the recording of Oh Darling was perfecting his lead vocal, a challenging feat. At first, my voice was too clear, he said in the anthology book. I wanted to sound as though I'd been performing it on stage all week. Jeff Emmerich says, it was at around this time that Paul started getting in the habit of coming in early every afternoon, before the others arrived, to have a go at singing the lead vocal to Oh Darling. Not only did he have me record it with 50s-style tape echo, he even monitored the backing track over speakers instead of headphones, because he wanted to feel as though he were singing it to a live audience. Every day, we'd be treated to a hell of a performance, as Paul put his all into singing the song all the way through once and once only, nearly ripping his vocal cords to shreds in the process. Paul was obsessed with getting the perfect vocal take, often arriving early before the others to record. He tried to sing the bridges without breaking into falsetto, experimenting with different approaches until he was satisfied. The vocal was recorded, re-recorded, and re-recorded multiple times until it was perfect. If Paul thought a certain day's attempt could be acceptable, he would double-track himself during the bridges to see if that would make it even better, sometimes even harmonizing with himself a little. John, who didn't claim any songwriting credit, felt he could have sung it better, though he acknowledged it was Paul's song. Jeff Emmerich and others also thought that John's voice suited the song better, but Paul's determination to sing it himself reflected their dynamics at the time. Emmerich continues, frankly, I think the reason Paul did those vocals each day before the others arrived was so that he wouldn't have to face their disapproval or withering remarks. He wouldn't even play them each day's attempt to solicit their opinion. Perhaps he had learned his lesson from Obla Di Obla Da, when he had sung the vocal over and over again in front of everybody, pissing off his bandmates in the process. There was one other factor with Paul singing the song, and that was pride. Paul's ego prevented him from ever giving John a stab at singing the lead on Oh Darling, despite the fact that it was a song that was probably better suited to Lennon's voice. Even though John was standing by in the studio, apparently ready, willing, and able, in later years, he admitted that he would have loved to have sung that lead. Paul was determined to give a Lennon performance all by himself. To a great degree, he succeeded, but what a shame it was that by the time the Beatles got to record the song, they were unwilling to ask one another for help. Such was the vibe of the Abbey Road sessions. Engineer Alan Parsons remembered, "That was a feature of the Abbey Road sessions. You very rarely saw all four Beatles together. It was either John, Paul, or George working on their various things, perhaps only getting together to hear something back. But Paul came in for several days running to do the lead vocal on Oh Darling, and I remember him saying, 5 years ago I could have done this in a flash," referring, I suppose, to the days of Long Tall Sally and Kansas City. All in all, Oh Darling brilliantly showcases the Beatles revisiting their early rock and roll roots and delivering a powerful performance that rivals the classics that inspired it.